QB Sean Salisbury. Sean, it's Zach Gelb and Chase Sr. here, WHIP Radio. Congratulations. How are you?
Zach, always a pleasure. Thank you for that nice compliment. It's great to be back in after having been in it for so long and been away for a bit, but it's time to come back full force. Chase, good to be with you, and honored you guys would have me on.
Well, last time I saw you, you were struggling a little bit in life, and you were going around Radio Row with the Past organization along with Ray Lucas. Is everything okay with you now from a health standpoint?
Oh, yeah, you know what? It takes, when it comes to concussions and that, all you can do is stay the course, and do everything you can to get your life right. And there's guys that got a lot worse than I do, Zach, guys that can't, don't know where they put their keys to go get their daughter from school and don't know the route to take. So I'm blessed that I've been one of those guys that's led a great life, been through some adversity, but you know what? Hitting rock bottom and bouncing back up always is a good thing. So, yes, I feel better than I've felt in a long time, health-wise, not only that, but physically, mentally, emotionally. Life's good. It's great to be back where I am. Sometimes you got to get kicked in the teeth and go through some difficult times to realize just how good you got it. So while I'm grateful every single day, my thoughts and prayers continue to go out to those guys that struggle every day in hopes that we can find a way to make their life and their quality of life better.
I saw you were in on the concussion settlement lawsuit. I thought you guys could have got a little bit more money with how much the NFL makes, but I saw you said it was important to settle outside of court. What was your thoughts on that and the whole settlement that happened for the concussions?
With money or no cash to hand, I think it's creating the awareness is important. Regardless if $5 comes in or $5,000 comes in, I think there's a lot of us that will donate money to make a difference, whether it's at high schools. I know I will. Mine was about trying to make it better because there's guys, as I said, not only will this help change their lives, but it's going to help save lives for a lot of them. They don't have medical care, and that I applaud the NFL and the lawyers and the players for getting together and trying to solve it. There could also, or getting it solved. There could always be the he said, she said, and we needed more, and they make more, and of course, because the NFL's they're going to make plenty of money, but you know what? It could have gone to court for 7 years. Some of the guys who need it and don't have medical care could have been without. So there's no bitterness. I love the NFL. It gave me every single thing career-wise I've ever had. 10 years of a pro career and 17 years of national TV and radio. So I just grateful for those that are obviously suffering more, that they're going to have the opportunity, hopefully sooner than later, to pay a bill, to pay a kid's college, to change their quality of life. Because there's many that are far more serious. But, it wasn't about cash. It wasn't about money. It's about, creating awareness, and I'm grateful the NFL, has seen that. And you know what? Regardless of how much money is out there, you guys, $800 million or close to $1 billion is still a lot of money. It'll make a difference. And to be honest with you, the guys who don't suffer from anything, go through testing, they'll be able to be weeded out if it's somebody looking for a paycheck. But if somebody deserves $4 million, then we ought to give it to them, because some guys have sacrificed every single thing in their life because they went out there and sold their soul on the football field. I'm not saying I was one of them, but there are that struggle far, far more, and that's really where all the where the money should go, to those that are suffering far worse than anybody else.
The current players, to me, I believe, really have to go out there and help you out when they negotiate all the CBAs and all the lockout nonsense that happens in the NFL. Do you believe that the younger player in the league, maybe a first or second year player, is thinking about you guys that have gone out there, have suffered in this game, and now don't have that much money to show for it?
And I don't hate them for it, and I think you make a great point. I just don't think they understand. It's funny, guys. And it's not funny, but I train a lot of quarterbacks across the country, from youth all the way up to high school, NFL, college. You're with them. And when you look at the youth, I'll stand in a room when I'm coaching at a Top Gun camp or privately training them, and I'll ask them, do you know who Joe Namath is? Do you know who Marcus Allen is? Do you know who Derek Dickerson is? And you know what? Most of them don't know. And as a quarterback, I ask my quarterbacks, hey, you know who, Johnny? I make them go every single quarter. I make go back in my camps, and I make do homework assignment. And I had one go back and tell me who Johnny Unitas is. And only one or two kids out of 30 raise their hand. And that's the point. I'm not faulting the kid, but that's the point. And I think when you get to the NFL, of course, none of us, in truth, while we're all grateful, as a second-year player when I was playing in the league, I wasn't thinking about Deacon Jones. You just don't. Whether it's selfish or you're worried about your career, you're thinking about how much money do I get paid now, and I can play forever, and the end's never going to come. That's just human nature, because it's what we know. And hopefully the awareness is created and it gets better all the time. But historians like a guy like Peyton Manning knows. He knew when he was a rookie. Do I know if the defensive tackle from Pitt, who now plays for Cincinnati, does he know? I don't know. But sure, because when you're out of sight, out of mind, nobody cares anymore. But the guys who are in it, they're the difference makers that can make it better for the guys who now are in the 7th grade that are going to come up in the NFL someday. Of course, but we can't hate on some guys. Say, you don't know what's going on, you should. We all wish that you knew the history of the game better, like a LeBron James or Kobe Bryant do basketball, or somebody who's a gym rat in baseball, or guys like me who just love talking about old school football when you came in. But it's human nature to have a tendency, well, I'm in it. What can you do for us now? We'll worry about when I retire later. But the only way that we make a difference is by hearing the big voices heard while they're playing, because nobody cares about this Joe Blow 4 years after he's done playing. He doesn't have that impact. So, yeah, it can make a difference, not just in concussions and injuries, guys, but in free agent salaries, in rookie wage scale, in benefits for the kids, for guys from down the road. So every generation and every decade, you got to look after the next guy for the next CBA. So it's a big fraternity, one that without the Johnny Unitas's and those guys of the world, the Peyton Mannings wouldn't have what they have. And without the Peyton Mannings, the Russell Wilsons weren't going to get what they deserve. And without the Russell Wilsons, the Elite 11 quarterback who's a junior in high school right now is not going to get his. But I think the NFL is a great game. The NFL is doing a great job of growing this game. It's the most popular sport in the United States, and it's only getting bigger as we see by the ratings. And so blessed to be a part of the NFL and have been a part of it, and blessed to be a player, but also blessed to do what we do. As you guys know, every day we get to come to work and talk sports, really, and get paid to do it. Pretty blessed. And until you're out of it, you don't realize how much you miss it.
Sean Salisbury on The Main Event on WHIP, Philly's #1 college radio station. Chase Sr. and Zach Gelb here with you until 12. Sean, it's Chase. It's an honor to talk to you. Glad you're doing so well. It's fantastic to know that your health is at a good place right now. Moving to the Philadelphia Eagles, that Chip Kelly high-octane offense caught the nation by storm on Monday night. They dropped 33 unanswered points against the Washington Redskins, ran a plethora of plays in the first half, and slowed down a lot in the second half. As a former quarterback, you have a unique perspective on how these offensive systems work. When you watch that Philadelphia Eagles game, do you think that this offense is sustainable, and what did you think of Chip Kelly's offense in his first game as head coach?
Well, first, I'm surprised why anybody out there will be shocked by what Chip's done. I mean, he told us all, coming from Oregon, which we saw, you blink an eye, and Anthony Thomas had scored 3 touchdowns. He was going to do this. And Chip is a very bold guy, very confident guy. I love him. I've loved that. I mean, even when he was beating up on my USC Trojans, I loved him. Then again, everybody's beating up on USC.
These days, yep.
You and us three could beat up on the Trojans right now.
Right.
And actually probably score more than 7 points against Washington State. Little dig on my Trojans. But with Chip, everybody's concerned about the hits on the quarterback, and I get it. And you start to think, well, do you have to have 2 or 3 deep in order to withstand that? It's really time to have the hits that we talk about. And right now, that's the best way to defend it. Here's the problem. You come down that line and you flag that fake, and then the guy can drop back and throw the football. Now you look what Kaepernick's doing. We saw Kaepernick run it last year in RG2. So we've seen bits and pieces of it.
Right.
We haven't seen it to the tempo that Chip Kelly runs it. And during the game, guys, I was not worried about the X's and O's when I was watching this game. And I've never been concerned about the X's and O's. You only got 11 on each side. Eventually, there's only so much you can do defensively and offensively. It's just the players who execute it. And then you start to look around with Deshaun and LaShawn and Mike and the way they're making plays, and you watch it, and it's not the X's and O's. It is that tempo that wears people out, because fatigue makes cowards out of everybody. When the legs go, the mind goes, and then you start to slow down. You don't react as fast. But my biggest concern wasn't how they did to the defense, because eventually defenses are going to say, okay, they're going to fake injuries. They're going to slow them down. So now they're going to try to at least. But I was more concerned about, can they sustain their own offense with full-grown men where you don't get to rotate 5 offensive linemen like a front 7 on defense does, because you need that continuity. How can they, when they're up in that 70, 74, 76, 78, eventually they'll run 90 plays in a game? How do their own guys do it at that tempo? And I think we saw them slow down a little in the second half. RG3 played better and controlled the ball on offense. That's what you're going to have to do, is have long, sustained drives. But you know what, guys, I'm anxious to see it. The Chargers are going to see how they continue to go, and you have to be extremely fit and extremely well-conditioned, and Chip's teams are. So why can't you? Why can't you? As long as you can, guys are going to take hits, but if your guys will do it, they did it at the college level, why not? It's getting guys to buy into it, guys. It's not a matter of can they. Mm-hmm. Getting that right tackle to buy into it, saying, when he comes back to the huddle saying, damn, guys, we got to slow this stuff down. This is crazy. Or when he goes to the sideline, because they're not huddling. That type of thing. But, as long as they're buying into the coach and things are going well, it'll all be great. I'm anxious to see when they hit some adversity, and they lose a game or maybe two in a row, which happens to most teams in this league, unless you're a Tom Brady or Peyton Manning, how they react then. If they struggle and drop the ball, lay the ball on the ground 3 times. So I love it. I love what the Eagles are doing. Everybody had them in last place, which is they're not so fast, my friend. As Leroy Corso would say, this team, when you play fast and furious, that becomes the great equalizer if you don't have a great defense or something else. And they've got such explosive talent on offense. I think they're going to put people in a bind, but they will run into adversity, so I'm anxious to see how they handle it when they only get to run 60 plays a game as opposed to 74, 75.
During your playing days, you had to study defenses diligently on a weekly basis. And when you saw that Redskins defense, especially in the first half, they look absolutely gassed. And London Fletcher came out this week and said he's never been so tired in the first quarter. When you saw that Redskins defense, what did you think that what did you think that was going through their heads? And how long can it take a defense to adjust to a scheme like this that they've really never seen before and that seems to be pretty revolutionary to this point?
Yeah, that's a great question, a great point. You know what, and when London, who's been in this league for a long time, admits that, it's fast-paced, furious. And, how long it takes to adjust, as we saw. The Redskins, the biggest problem, the Redskins had they were a little rusty on offense, which kept giving Chip the ball. They kept giving that offense the ball, so they had a chance, and then they capitalized. And as a defense, what you got to do is you got to try to get them off the field early, get a couple 3-and-outs so you can actually breathe. You don't have to grab an oxygen tank, but if you allow them to get rolling, that you can't stop it. I mean, you can contain it at times, but if they're rolling, they're going to score. They're going to get their points because Mike's accurate and they're throwing on time and with accuracy. But as London said, you can't open up the game where you're trying to, you're excited anyway, and you're hyperventilating because it's the opening game of the season. Before you know it, bingo, bango, bongo, you're down by 20 or 21 or 17. You're like, whoa, 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 whoa. And then you can't even breathe at all. And so you start questioning guys, you start trying to make adjustments. The key is you've got discipline to stay at home. But you also, that's why this off-season, you can't come to camp you've got a condition, man. But they're going to wear you out. You're in full gear. It's hot. It's miserable. And the key is if you give up too many points too fast, like the Redskins, they still almost chased them down. But then you have too much to overcome to get back in it. So you have got to stay in it and fight through it. And as much as I hate to say it, jump, shoot, legs go, guys, because playing against an offense that runs up and down the court, what happens? That ball fight, he doesn't shoot as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when the legs go, the rest of the team goes. So the challenge is going to be not allowing the Eagles to just keep coming out, and your offense must stay on the field. Defenses are not going to be able to keep up 80 plays a game, guys. They're just not. So your offense must sustain a few drives in order that your defense can catch their breath, because you only got 53 of the dudes on the football team, and there ain't that many on defense. So you darn well better rely on your offense, because your offense has got to hold that offense on the other side on the sidelines. But once they get rolling, guys, it's like anything. You're not going to stop Jordan from getting his 30. You're not going to stop Kobe or LeBron from getting their 30. But you better stop the other 4. You better stop the other 10, and you better not let that ball get going, because if it does, you're in a chase mode. And the last thing you want to do in a chase mode is give Chip Kelly the ball 8, 10, 12, 14 series, 16 series a game. You're in trouble.
This is another favorable matchup for the Eagles, as the Chargers defense last week allowed 449 points, as we're talking to Sean Salisbury. So, Sean, I like the Eagles to win once again this week. But now let's go around the rest of the league. You see a team like New England last night who just squeaked out a 3-point victory going up against the Jets. Brady's throwing to no-name wide receivers. It's not the first time in his career we've seen him throwing to no-name wide receivers. You just look back in 2006. But this is his worst receiving core that he's ever had as an NFL starting quarterback. You know Brady's going to find a way to make it work somehow, but it looks like they need Amendola and Gronkowski back in the worst possible way.
There's no doubt about it. Edelman sure played well last night. It's interesting, guys. Nobody, if you think about their careers, and really until Hernandez and Gronk, and when Moss was there for the year and a half, 2 years, and then Welker, Tom Brady's really taken a bunch of ordinary players and made them extraordinary on the perimeter. He really has. They've never had a run game. Corey Dillon was good. They got a bunch of different guys running it. And while they struggled last night, the one thing is they know how to win ugly. And that's okay. I'd rather be 2-0 ugly than 1-1 or 0-2 pretty. You know what I'm saying? So with Brady, you're going to be in all the games. Us three are getting a workout next week. People play 2 slots and a wideout. So us three may be playing for the Patriots next week. And there's guys on that team that may have been delivering mail 2 weeks ago. I have no offense, because I follow football. I've never heard of Hobson a day in my life. Okay, I mean, I like. I don't even know where he went to school.
Marshall.
Yeah, heading into the football game, I never saw him play down. Now, if I was Mel Kiper, Mel probably would have known everything, or Mike Mayock, but I'd never seen him play. Well, Tom gets him a touchdown, and now the kid's going to have to step up. So my question is, talking about sustaining it, can they, like this, if Gronk's injury lingers, and depending on what's going on, with Amendola, what's going to happen as they go on? Because without that, Tom having to do it every week, that'd even be more special. So the Patriots are going to be around, guys. You know that. Mm-hmm. That's just the way they are. But to be able to win a game like that when Tom was blowing a gasket and they're going crazy and it's raining and they can't get things going, that's still a positive. So you can look at it either way you want. Oh, they're in trouble, or oh my gosh, they know how to win even when they're playing poorly. And that's what they did last night. So don't stop the Patriots out regardless of who the wide receiver or running back is. They'll find a way.
Sean, going back to the Philadelphia Eagles' opponent on Sunday, the San Diego Chargers, since 2009 when they finished 13-3, their record has progressively gotten worse, and with that, Phillip Rivers' play has declined. As a former quarterback, you studied the position. You mentioned earlier that you've worked with numerous quarterbacks. What have you seen from Phillip Rivers that has caused his play to deteriorate? Because to me, it seems as though he's a little bit of a front runner. When they're up, he seems like one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. But as soon as something happens and he has to face adversity, he seems to struggle and lay down. What have you seen from Phillip Rivers the last couple of years that you are really concerned about?
Yeah, and you know what's funny with some interesting? He's a tough guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's got to stand in there. We witnessed that when they played the Patriots when LP wasn't playing and playing out there on a blown-out leg and still playing. So he'll stand in there. I think what's happened, guys, with Phillip, you know, you're never going to be mechanics are not perfect. You know, he's got a different throwing motion than the rest of it. But they've taken away and stripped him of some big-time players in the past, Vincent Jackson. I mean, they've let the Sproles of the world. And he's had to continue to try and carry the load. You know, you're never going to get a better offensive play caller than North Turner.
Uh-huh.
And that's just the way it is. So you know, you're right. This team can't close. They cannot close. They're as bad as there is in the league at finishing. They're great setup people, but they can't close. Well, with Phillip, I think it comes down to guys, and this is the truth. I've tried to watch him all the time. You realize he has to do everything for them to win. If they're not running the ball and they're not helping there, he's got to do everything. And he's not athletic enough to make something happen with his feet, as you guys will see. He's going to have his feet planted in the pocket. He's got to throw on time because if the play breaks down, the Chargers are in trouble because Phillip's not going to do what Vic does or what the RG3s of the world can do, better Kaepernicks. But I think he tries to do too much. I think he gets to a point where the pressure of squeezing the ball a little harder, I got to stick it into a hole. This team's starting to come back. We're up by 3 touchdowns. Now we're only up by 2. Now we're only up by 1. He forces too many balls. We can slice it any way we want. Tough guy. He'll stand in the pocket and take the hit. He's competitive as hell. At times, you know, people have accused him of being a whiner when things aren't going well. I get it, but he's got a lot of pressure on him to make every play. Because can you imagine how poor they'd be without him?
Mm-hmm.
So I agree. We had him 4 years ago, as a top 5 or 6 quarterback in the league. But with the weapons, I don't think Phil can load on his. He'll put numbers. I don't think he can load on his back and say, we're going to win 8 straight. It's me. Because I think at times in a close game, he feels like I got to force that ball in. He becomes impatient. Impatient quarterbacks and boring quarterbacks, boring meaning are willing to take the check down 4 and 5 times in a row, win championships. I love Phillip Rivers, but I think there was probably a ceiling because I just don't. I mean, if he had 8 great receivers, maybe it's different. But when he feels like he has to make every play, he doesn't have that, that ability to just say, nope, I can't try to make that throw in the seam. It gets too deep. When a guy runs a pump seam and the linebacker gets depth, I try to squeeze it in and it gets picked. So, but without him, guys, they're not very good. With him, he'll keep them in games. I don't believe they're a playoff team, but they are better, I think, than people gave them credit for heading into the season. It's not just a 2-horse race. They'll upset somebody in the playoff picture out there in the West, whether it's Kansas City or sneak in on Denver one time.
Sean, on the way out here, Sean Salisbury joined us and you were great. We only got 45 seconds left. Your Trojans go up against one of our former football coaches as Steve Adazio left Temple University for BC. Can your Trojans find a way to squeak out a victory this week up against the Boston College Eagles?
Well, can they find a way? Yes. I don't think the leadership is great. I think it's forced. This will be Lane Kiffin's last year as the head coach of USC. And I'm going to tell you what, Boston College can run the football. The great thing about this year, fortunately for us, our defense is far better than we were last year. The question is, can we dial up any plays? Do we have anybody other than Marquis Free that can make a play? Do we have a coach that will put him in position to win? I'm going to pick USC, but I'm going to tell you what. If we're talking next week or the week after and Boston College beats them, won't be shocked. This is not a very good football team, and a lot of people are kind of thinking, well, maybe we can pull off this and get somebody else like a Art Briles or somebody or a Jack Del Rio next year to coach the football team. Enjoy it, because Lane Kiffin's days are numbered as a coach at USC.